On August 7th of this year, a powerful storm moved through East Tennessee, bringing straight-line winds, heavy rain, and an unwarned EF-2 tornado to West Knoxville. The tornado touched down on Yarnell Road and traveled 3.8 miles before dissipating. Many people were caught off guard by the storm. The tornado was very unusual. EF-2 tornadoes are rare in Knoxville. In fact, this is only the third time in recorded history a tornado of that magnitude has touched down in Knox County. In order to better understand the atmospheric conditions of that day, I sat down with Dr. Kelsey Ellis. Dr. Ellis is an associate professor at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, specializing in meteorology and climatology. She dedicates a lot of her time to studying hazardous weather and its human impacts.
The conditions that day included some instability, so we expected to see some convective storms form, and also some helicity or rotation was expected due to anomalously strong low-level jet values. Usually that doesn't happen in the summertime, but we're expecting strong winds at the 850 and 700 millibar levels. And we mostly expected to have linear storms come through, and then in advance of the line, maybe some isolated cells. And that's pretty common when we get a QLCS type structure in our area. You see that, and then before it are a few isolated cells. And so hazard-wise, they were expecting wind to be the main threat because there would be a potential for wind damage across the entire swath of the linear event. And then also those types of storms can cause spin-up tornadoes, and so there was a chance for that, and hail. And then the isolated cells in advance of the line, we could also expect maybe a greater tornado probability there.
When the storm system moved through West Knoxville, the tornado spun up very quickly. The National Weather Service did not issue a tornado warning for the storm. However, a severe thunderstorm warning with both a tornado possible tag and a catastrophic damage tag was in effect. Dr. Ellis tells us more.
Yeah, at the bottom of a warning, the National Weather Service may add a tag that talks about maybe what they expect about certain specific hazards, like do they expect the hail to be extremely dangerous or the wind to be extremely dangerous, or they can say a tornado is very possible, and so that's the tornado possible tag. And I think I'm just speculating, but if anyone from the general public even saw that, they'd say, oh, a tornado is possible. Like, yeah, of course we're under tornado watch. I don't think it really adds that threat level like they expected to. But then there's also this tag that can be catastrophic damage, which they also added, which I think maybe catches people's attention a little more. But yeah, it's a tag that shows that they think a tornado is more possible, I guess, than the typical severe thunderstorm. And based on our research, it's probably most useful for other people communicating risk to the public, maybe not for the public themselves, to see the tornado possible tag.
In order to learn more about public risk perception, I sat down with Cooper Corey. Cooper is a PhD student in the Department of Geography and Sustainability. His previous work includes using GIS to predict spatial patterns of tornadoes. Under the advising of Dr. Ellis, Cooper is currently working on a research project entitled Hit Without Warning: Public Risk Perception During an Unwarned Tornado. So far, Cooper's research seems to support the idea that the general public does not know much about tornado possible tags. Let's take a listen.
In terms of the public, there was not a single mention of the tornado possible tag, at least in the open-ended responses that most people added to in their survey response. So I don't know if it's useful at all for the public. I mean, maybe a select few that know to look for it, but I'm not sure if people know that that it's there, or that it's a possible addition that can be added.
While the general public's lack of knowledge about tornado possible tags is a problem, both Cooper and Dr. Ellis are in agreement that there's a much bigger problem at hand. Severe thunderstorms are not taken seriously. People severely underestimate the damage of straight-line winds.
Yeah, the understanding of severe thunderstorm risk seems to be really low. And years ago, when I interviewed the National Weather Service forecasters about another project, in Morristown, I interviewed at all three main Tennessee offices, and in Morristown, they said, our biggest concern is people don't take straight line winds seriously. And this was a wonderful example of that, because people are like, well, I sheltered because I saw that I should, not because anyone told me to. I'm like, no, they told you all day that you should be sheltering because we're going to have 60 to 80 mile per hour winds across the entire city. And so, but they don't, unless someone says that's going to be a rotating wind, they don't really pay attention to it.
And I also don't want to speak for everyone because I'm sure everyone's specific experiences are different. But I think tornadoes are more like, that monster that you can see in the distance. There are horror movies about tornadoes like Twister, similar to hurricanes and earthquakes, but nobody's really going to make a horror movie about wind. Uh, so I think the fact that you can see it usually, I mean, typically you can't in the Southeast, but you can see it. It's a visual threat, and it's a singular object that you can follow with your eyes or on radar. But thunderstorms are something that happen quite frequently, especially in the Southeast, especially in the summer as well. So I guess people just get used to the fact that it gets rainy and stormy. So these anomalous thunderstorms that do end up producing tornadoes or extremely high winds, I suppose, are just overlooked as being typical thunderstorms.
While there was a significant tornado in Knoxville on August 7th, the majority of the damage in the Knoxville area was caused by straight line winds. Take a look at this video. This is not from inside a tornado. This is the result of 60 to 80 mile per hour straight line winds moving through Knoxville. Let's take another listen to Dr. Ellis.
The tornado is taking away the important storyline for people too, because now they're like, oh, there was a tornado and we didn't have a warning, instead of like, oh, we had a severe thunderstorm warning that I didn't take seriously and damage was all over Knoxville. And instead, people are like, oh, no, I think I got another tornado here. And like, they're not actually crediting the severe thunderstorm with all of the danger we saw that day, even though it was. And it is the thing that caused the tornado as well. And then all that. So it's kind of sad that the tornado is taking away from the fact that it was actually a really good forecast. It's unfortunate there was no tornado warning, but there's everything but. And it was a really good forecast, and yet I don't think anyone learned anything from it.
So what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, the truth is, severe thunderstorm warnings are not taken seriously, and they should be. Straight line winds can cause just as much damage as a low-end tornado, and yet the majority of people don't take any protective actions when they get that notification to their phone. When a severe thunderstorm warning is issued, move inside a sturdy building and stay away from windows. Stay sheltered until the storm has passed, and check the warning for the hazard types associated with the storm. When severe weather is forecasted, make sure you always have a reliable way to get alerts. Take every warning seriously. Be weather aware, and as always, stay weather savvy. In Knoxville, Emma Collard, Vol News.